As tensions with Iran intensify after recent United States and Israeli strikes on Iranian targets, the world stands on the edge of an energy crisis that could ripple through every corner of the global economy. At the center of this geopolitical storm is a threat extending far beyond the Middle East. Iran has signaled its intent to block maritime traffic through the primary artery for the world's energy supply. This crisis targets the foundational commodity of modern industrial societies. By early March 2026, Brent crude oil prices surged toward $73 per barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude climbed past $67. Financial analysts warn that any sustained disruption could easily push prices well beyond the $100 mark.
In fact, we had reason to fear that Iran might even attack some of the oil installations. Even that might happen. Now, as you know, they have blockaded the Strait of Hormuz, and the Houthis have or will blockade the entrance to the Red Sea, which will hinder the access to Suez Canal, destabilizing, damaging global trade. Oil prices will go up, which will affect everyone, including India.
Understanding the gravity of this threat requires looking closely at the geography. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow body of water connecting the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. To the north lies the coastline of Iran. To the south, the strait is bordered by the United Arab Emirates and Oman. The physical dimensions make it an extreme logistical bottleneck. At its narrowest point, the strait is only 33 kilometers or 21 miles wide. The actual navigable area for supertankers is much smaller. Regional energy exports rely entirely on this tiny stretch of water. The sheer volume of fossil fuels transported through this corridor is staggering. Every single day, approximately 20 million barrels of crude oil pass through the Strait of Hormuz.
Depends heavily on import of crude. Nearly 90% of our requirements are imported. Much of them are imported through Strait of Hormuz from the Gulf countries. And closure of Strait of Hormuz would impact it in many ways on our strategic supplies of crude, a vital commodity for us. Firstly, the supplies themselves would become meager. Secondly, the price of crude is likely to go higher. Both these are going to be serious challenges for us.
The immediate consequence of trapping that much oil is a violent shock to global crude prices. With Brent crude hovering around $73 and WTI at $67 amidst the initial panic, a prolonged closure would strip a fifth of the global supply overnight. Markets operate on the balance of supply and demand. Removing this much supply creates a shortage of catastrophic proportions. This price surge bleeds directly into the real economy. High crude prices increase the cost of producing diesel and aviation fuel. This drives up the cost of transporting goods across land, sea, and air. Manufacturers face higher energy costs and pass them on to consumers. The result is a sharp wave of global inflation that central banks cannot easily control. While the economic fallout would be global, the physical shortage of oil would strike Asian markets with devastating precision. Roughly 70 to 80% of the crude oil exported through the Strait of Hormuz is destined for Asian economies. China and India are the world's largest importers of this crude. India alone relies on the region for over half of its total crude imports. These nations have strategic petroleum reserves acting only as short-term buffers. A sustained blockade forces these massive economies into a desperate scramble to secure alternative energy sources from West Africa or the Americas. This sudden shift in buying patterns creates intense competition for non-Gulf oil and drives global prices even higher. The global economy is built on a foundation of fragile maritime arteries. The current crisis highlights a severe vulnerability in the international supply chain. Intense military conflict, a physical geographical bottleneck, and the world's unrelenting dependence on crude oil create a highly dangerous scenario. A localized blockade can trigger a worldwide economic recession. While millions of barrels of oil remain locked behind a narrow strip of contested water, the threat of skyrocketing energy prices persists. Global economic stability remains permanently tethered to the security of this 21-mile wide passage.